All right. Well, thanks so much for coming to our Caregivers Club. One of the top questions that we get at Keen is, what do we do after our kids age out of Keen? Everything kind of stops at 21. And a friend of mine was actually connected to Kenzie Clark, who is the co-founder of an organization called Able Transition Consulting. And as soon as I learned more about what they did, I was like, this has to be a presentation for our families. So I'm going to pass it over to Kenzie to introduce herself and share the work that they're doing, and hopefully it'll be helpful to you guys.
Yeah, thank you, Amanda. It's been really great to meet Amanda and get to know a little bit more about Keen. I'm really excited to be with you guys tonight. And so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna have a presentation. And so I do like it to be a back and forth, but I'm gonna really help you guys understand what transition is, what it means, what the process is, how to prepare yourself and your child for those next steps moving forward. And then at the end, I'll take any and all questions that you have. Um, so I'm going to get started right now and share my screen with you guys. Perfect. All right. Everybody see that? Okay, great. So I'm the founder of Able Transition Consulting. I'm based in Raleigh, North Carolina, but we work with clients all over the states. My background is special education. I was a special ed teacher. I've taught in the school system, the public schools, as well as in post-secondary education for adults. And in the process of teaching, especially before I was in post-secondary, all of the families that I worked with, their question was, what happens when they're past 21? What happens when they're finished with school? What happens when the services are not available, when they can't go to school for 8 hours a day, when they can't have access to things that have been really integral to their success? And what was interesting was, being a special ed teacher, I did not know the answer to that question. And that's when I had to do some wrestling with, okay, what is my responsibility and what do I need to learn? So I went and pursued my master's degree in transition. It's a really new program, really new degree. It's only been around for about almost 9 years, and only 4 universities in the whole country even offer the program, just because transition is so new. So that's a little bit about my background, and I stepped out and started Able to really help families prepare for the future. And so what we do is we create transition person-centered plans for lifelong planning. And so we plan out 20 to 25 years into the future, which can seem like a lot, but it's really integral to plan for success. And so tonight I'm going to really kind of delve into what transition is, what are the components in it, and then you're going to walk away with some next steps that you guys can do practically to support yourself and where you're at on your transition journey. So if you've heard the word transition before, you can raise your hand if you've heard the word in the school system or with like an IEP, maybe with your teachers. Yeah, okay. So when we think about transition, it's the process of preparing individuals for life after high school, right? So post-secondary education, employment, and independent living. But then it's also the process of that individual becoming an adult, right? And continuing to grow throughout their adult life. So it's an ongoing process. We don't think of it as a stagnant process that happens when it starts when they're 14 in the school system, where they get transition assessments. And then at 16 to 18, they're getting transition services. The IEP has the 3 goals for education, employment, independent living. It really goes way beyond that into the adult life. So I have an activity I like to do with all the families that I talk to whenever I give a presentation. You don't have to write it down if you don't want to, but just take a little bit of time to pause. And I want you to think about, okay, your child in the future. It could be 10 years from now, 15 years from now. What are your 3 biggest concerns or obstacles as you start to think about the future? It could be, where are they going to live? It could be, what services are they going to have? How are they going to get a job? I'll give you guys just like a minute. Just think about it. You don't have to write down if you don't want to. And as you start to think about those concerns or those specific obstacles, what do you want to know more? What do you think you need to know more about those various things? It could be I need to learn about employment opportunities, I need to learn about accessible housing. And just kind of as we go through tonight, hopefully you can start getting some answers to some of these questions. So there's a really big transition problem right now in our whole country. And we see it from people who live on the East Coast, people who live on the West Coast, to the Midwest, to Texas. Currently, 80% of individuals with disabilities are unemployed across the country. And with the pandemic happening, a lot of research is being done, but they're not sure what that number is now, but they're definitely sure that number, sorry, my dog, if you hear her in the background, I apologize. That number has definitely gone up throughout the pandemic. A lot of people have lost work and lost jobs. Many individuals do not have accessible and quality long-term housing options. Schools are really not providing essential transition resources, information, and assessments like they should be. There's Medicaid waivers in every state, and some states the wait list is up to 15 years to access those funds. Many transition plans in the school system really aren't implemented to fidelity, and seamless transition is not occurring. And so seamless transition, the goal is that the last day of your child's high school career should be what they're doing the first day after high school. And that's not really happening really anywhere. But that is the goal. That's what true transition planning should do in the school system setting. And there's not transition specialists to work with families. So in most districts and states, a person who's a transition specialist would work alongside the teacher, really just helping them to develop the transition IEP and then to help them find community and workspace learning opportunities. It wouldn't be to help the family plan for the rest of the future for the child. So if we think about transition from a 30,000 foot level, there's a lot that goes into it. And so you can take a deep breath because I know it's a lot. So person-centered planning is really what we do. We plan out uniquely for each individual at ABLE, like I said, 20 to 25 years into the future. Transition involves financial planning and involves working with an attorney to develop a special needs trust. And if you've never heard of that before, that's something that special needs trusts are really vital and key. Workspace learning opportunities in the individual school setting. And now with the pandemic, right, everything's virtual, schools are online. Students aren't going out into the community to access this workspace learning, which presents a lot of challenges. It involves a transition IEP, collaboratively working in the school system with educators, with individuals, in order to ensure success for the adult. It also involves guardianship, it involves housing, it involves transportation, it involves moving to adult services, and specifically navigating all of those options of what that looks like. Because in every state, in every district, in every city, it's different. And so there are just different layers that kind of go on top of all of this. There's also accessing funding with Medicaid, with Social Security, and with whatever waivers in your state. And then there's more. And when we really think about transition, it's not a one-stop shop process, right? It's a continual, lifelong process of building and growing. So it really involves a lot. But most families, what we are told and what we hear really is that transition just involves that transition IEP in the school system. But it's so much more than that. And so that's what I hope to kind of to give to you guys is like these are really important integral parts of transition. All right. So the school system is a big part, right, of transition because your educators, your special ed teachers, they are working to develop the transition IEP. And so if your child does have a transition IEP, think about the goals that they have in that IEP. There are 3 main goals in a transition IEP that should be the front of the transition IEP, but it's also what every other goal should be all about, if that makes sense. So you've got your goal for post-secondary education for what's going to happen after they leave the school system. You've got employment, a goal about employment, and then a goal about independent living as applicable for the individual. And independent living doesn't necessarily mean they're going to live in this home, but how are they going to be more independent and successful as an adult? And as your child ages to 21, each goal should get more specific and more targeted. So if the goal stays the same from the time they are 14 to 21, something's wrong. The goals should be changing, they should be getting more specific, and you should be working with your school system, and the educator should, in theory, depending on who your child's teacher is, really be targeting what is going to be a best outcome for the individual. Um, and throughout the IEP, every other goal should be looping back around and referring and referencing and building on the goal for post-secondary education, employment, and independent living. In the school system, a big thing that we help families advocate for too is workspace learning. And I know that's not happening now due to the pandemic, but being able to generalize a skill outside of the classroom and into a work setting is going to provide incredible, huge growth for the individual. It's going to help them to understand a little bit more about, hey, if I need help regulating my emotions in the classroom, but I can't transfer it to a workplace environment, right? There's not going to be success in employment. And so making sure that we can have our children out in the community is huge. But again, that's not happening right now due to the pandemic. But one day when that can be advocated for again, that's really huge. There's also post-secondary options all around the country. If you've not heard of Think College, they're incredible. Think College is an organization we work closely with, and they really support inclusive universities and community colleges all over the US. And so you can literally go to thinkcollege.com, type in your state, even like your county, and see what opportunities would be available to your child post high school. And not all special ed teachers will know about these opportunities depending on who they are and what they're interested in. But those are also accessible. And then
Kenzie, did you say, I'm sorry, did you say Think College?
Think, yes,
Think.
Think, Think.
Okay.
Think, yes, thank you for grabbing that. Yeah, Think College. Another big part, which is what we just touched on, really is community engagement and predictors for employment. So the pandemic has made this a lot harder, but thankfully to Zoom, we can still have interactions with people, still talk to people, and be engaged socially. So students who engage in community activities, jobs, internships, even just social opportunities, as much as they're able to, have higher life outcome qualities, which, oh, someone entered the waiting room, which is important. There's also something big. So the Rehabilitation Act and the Workforce Innovations Act has also opened up this door to competitive and integrative employment. So I don't know if you have heard that buzzword around, but it really is all about individuals being able to access jobs in a way that is that's integrated, where they're going to be paid competitively, where they're not going to be paid way under minimum wage. And it's a really great thing that has been done. But what that also means is that it has blocked out into some individuals who need a more supportive workplace setting. A lot of that's being prevented, which a lot of advocates are trying to work around, creating opportunities for those individuals as well, because it's essential, right? Not everyone is going to be able to work out at the Starbucks or at the local lawyers or attorney's office at the front desk. And so thankfully, there's many advocates who are working really hard to make sure that we can develop more opportunities for every individual, whatever their unique needs, skills, and abilities are. That's something that's happening all across the country. It's just happening a little bit slower because of what the Workforce Innovation Opportunities Act has kind of done. Then if we keep thinking about future work, being engaged in the community, then there's the question of guardianship, which a lot of families will ask about. And so, we always tell families we are not attorneys or lawyers, but we have really great attorneys that we trust all over the country. If you are interested in having a conversation with one of them about specifically what would be best for your child, but what it is, if you've not thought about it or not heard about it, the legal definition, according to the courts, is it's a legal relationship between a guardian and the ward. And so the guardian will make decisions based on what is in the best case scenario for the ward. So when we have families who think about guardianship, they don't know that there are levels of guardianships, and there's a continuum, and there's alternatives. So it's not a one size fits all for every individual, right? I have one of my clients who's incredible. He's a speaker. He goes and speaks around the country. His parents never sought guardianship. They have power of attorney over his finances and his health care because he wants to be his own guardian because he's capable. Then we have some parents who just have general guardianship. We have some families, the parent is the guardian of the person. You can be the guardian of the estate, which encapsulates finances and medical needs and medical care. There's a limited guardianship, interim guardianship, conservatorship. There's so much. And so what you need to think about is really the point of it is to secure your child's safety and protecting people who may be vulnerable. So making sure that if they can make good decisions regarding their finances and their medical care and their medical needs, that's kind of where people start when they start to think about guardianship. But most people don't realize there's a continuum and there are options, and it's not just one size fits all. It could be anything from one individual. The best thing for them and for their safety and security might be for them, the parent, to have guardianship of the person. But like other of my clients, it might be best for parents just to have power of attorney options. So this is a large part of when the individual turns 18, is having these conversations as well. And having the conversation with your child is pretty crucial, and bringing them and other people in your circle into the environment to make sure you're having the conversations together. Then we think about benefits. And there are so many things when it comes to benefits. So Social Security income, when they're 18, being able to apply for SSI, having those payment checks, Medicaid. And most families don't know when the parent retires. So if you are working and your child is receiving Social Security income, SSI, when the parent retires, the adult child will then get what's called Social Security Disability Insurance, SSDI. It's a different check, it's a different amount of money, and the amount of money that your child can have in their bank account actually changes. But a lot of people don't know. They get this check and it says SSDI and they're like, what is this? And it's because the parent has retired, which is just something good to know. Most families apply when the child is 18. Some states say 17 years and 8 or 9 months, depending on how long their backlog is, for getting these things through, because paperwork in the government can take a long time. And most families will get denied the first time. We see about 80% of families, when they apply for SSI, get denied, even though the child is eligible and absolutely should get it. So if you've not applied for SSI yet, if that's not been a part of your journey and you're looking forward to doing that, if you do get denied, don't be discouraged. You just appeal and you keep going and you keep pressing forward. This happens all the time. 8 out of 10 parents that we work with get denied on the first time. There's also asset limits for how much the individual child can have in their bank account, which can create kind of a problem at times, because some families don't know. And if the limit goes over, and right now Social Security has it at around 2,000, and if you have more than 2,000 in the bank account that has your child's name on it, they could lose their benefits, which is where the ABLE accounts come in. So ABLE accounts are getting so much better. So if you heard about ABLE accounts 5 years ago and everyone complaining about them, they're getting a lot better. Advocates and individuals and financial specialists have really helped ABLE accounts to kind of move forward. And what an ABLE account does is it basically is a safeguard for your child's money, and all of the money in the ABLE account is deemed unavailable to Social Security. So that ABLE account, for most of our clients, they use it as their basic checking and savings account. You can open one online today, but the maximum amount in the lifetime of it, you can have no more than $100,000 in that account. But it provides a really great way to make sure, oh my gosh, have we gone over the bank account? You don't have to worry about that, because you can just know, hey, I've got it in this account, and it's deemed unavailable. There's also Medicaid waivers. And Medicaid waivers provide funds for individuals with intellectual and other related developmental disabilities in order to access funding for various things such as job coaching, job supports, right? Some individuals use their waiver funds for housing even. So knowing about your state's waiver is really important. And if there's the waiting list, getting your name on the waiting list as soon as possible. While you're on the waiting list, a lot of states have what's called B3 services. And these services are for people who are on what they call it. They don't call it the waiting list. They call it the registry of unmet needs for all the waivers, because it sounds better, which is, I think, is just kind of funny. but you can access these B3 services in the interim when your child does not yet have the waiver. Then there's vocational rehabilitation, getting plugged in with them for job coaches and job supports. Voc Rehab is based regionally. So I have clients who do not like their Voc Rehab in Illinois and love their Voc Rehab in South Carolina. Don't like their Voc Rehab in this certain part of North Carolina, but love their Voc Rehab in another part. So when you go to approach Voc Rehab, talking to local agencies that know about Voc Rehab and asking them, who's a great counselor, who's a great personnel and professional support person that I could speak with there is oftentimes really beneficial. And they provide funding to help your child access a job, and to mitigate and make sure that there's job support so there is hopefully success at that job, and not not like they go 2 or 3 days and then they're asked to not return. So Voc Rehab really supports individuals over time so that they become more independent in their job. And so the goal is they'll come in with more supports until they're no longer needed. But some individuals will always need support, and so they will obviously ensure that the individual gets what they need. And then you think about benefits too, making sure you're plugged in. Like Keene is obviously an incredible community support for you guys. And thinking about other places and organizations, natural supporters who in your family, who in your network and your friends and your communities, who can support you and be on your team and be on your child's team, because the process of transition is really weighty. And it's not only weighty, it can be emotional and draining and tiring. And so making sure you've got people on your team is a huge part of making sure that you're caring for yourself and that you're also caring for your child well. And then there's financial future. And so we talked a little bit about the ABLE account, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail. And we've also had conversations about a special needs trust. Raise your hand if you know what a special needs trust is. Anybody know what it is? Some yes, some no. So it is a trust. It benefits the child with a disability, ensuring that their benefits are secure. And most families will essentially fund a trust through a life insurance policy, so that when they are no longer here, they know there are funds available to care for their child as necessary and as needed. Now, to set up a special needs trust, you need a trusted attorney. Only attorneys can do this. However, the legislation around this changes all the time. So making sure that it's someone who is trusted in the community with local disability organizations and advocacy organizations, that's pretty critical. And anyone can contribute to it. That means aunt, uncle, grandma, cousin, best friend, anybody can contribute to it. And what's important to note, which a lot of people don't know, and I'm going to just tell you all this right now. If any of your family members or your best friends write your child's name on their will, if they write money to your child in a will, your child can lose their benefits. So the goal of the trust is that if people want to leave money to your child, they write in their will to the special needs trust and your child's name, because the trust acts in the similar way that ABLE account does, right? It provides that safeguard from Social Security. It's a safeguard of money that Social Security can never touch. And so making sure, it can be an awkward conversation. People have actually gotten me on a Zoom with grandma and grandpa, and I've had to say, the name of the child cannot be on the will, and this is why. But you can write to the special needs trust of your grandson or your niece or your nephew, because you want to make sure that they don't lose their benefits either, right? And so that's the goal. And similarly, the ABLE account, it's a tax advantage savings for SSI and SSDI. And again, right, it acts as a safeguard for all of their money, and Social Security cannot deem any of that money eligible. And then the waiver. So in different states, it's called different things, but the waiver provides that funding, right? It provides funding for home support, community support, getting an individual worker that can support your child. And the money is supposed to help the individual maximize their advocacy skills, their self-determination, community integration, and socialization. So these three things, the trust, the ABLE account, the waiver, thinking about SSI and SSDI as well, all benefit and support the financial future for your child. And then what the piece that we do at ABLE is person-centered planning. So a lot of families, and I found this when I taught, right? You have this IEP, you continue to work on it, you're working towards these goals, you've got these 3 goals for transition, and then they graduate and it's like nothing's there. And you're left to say, okay, well, what are we working towards? What can we do? And a lot of times it can feel like a nebulous of the adult wants to have a job at this place and they might want to work here or there, but how do we put all of it together in a way that is meaningful and in a way that's research based, in a way that the child is going to be able to access this? And so a person-centered plan that we do, it's a lifelong plan. It's a collaborative setting, and we use it to build goals specifically for the individual. And we have goals for 3 months out from our session, 5 months, 1 year, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And the adult gets a visual plan. And so I'll kind of show you what that looks like. It looks like a lot, but when we work with adults and individuals, they get their own visual plan for the rest of their life that they visually put up, put in their room, look towards it. Some of our adults, they work better with symbols, pictures, real life pictures, pec boards. So we'll add those in. And then we work to have a written extensive plan. So we touch on every area of adulthood, from transportation, we'll talk about it, to healthcare, to managing your wellness and well-being, mental health, employment, you name it. If you're an adult, we're going to touch it. We're going to talk about it. Because there are so many things that you and I do, like our taxes, right? Filling this and that out, applying for X, Y, or Z. We figure out how to get from point A to point B with transportation, that sometimes we need to plan out, right? We need to figure out how we're going to get to those next steps. So how much more do we need to plan for these individuals so they can have success? And the way we plan is that the individual is at the center of the plan. They're the loudest voice in the room because it's their life. We also work to make sure that all of our plans are built on strengths, abilities, and desires and preferences, because research shows that if you build on weaknesses, it's bound to fail from the beginning. And so we really ensure that looking forward, you can have peace of mind and hope for the future, and that your kid is like, hey, excited. A, B, that they're looking forward to working, to being able to access a local public transportation if that's a goal that they have. Some individuals, they have goals of like, I'm going to save my own money and plan a trip to Florida for myself one day. Or having a relationship, volunteering, like there's sky's the limit to when it comes to goals, to what we think about as the future. And so when we think about the future and we think about transition, there are these kind of 6 basic steps. The first is the school system, right? So we kind of go back to the beginning, the school system, the transition IEP, really ensuring that IEP is well developed, that your child's strengths and their abilities and their desires are at the forefront. Because if your child's teacher writes that they're going to be a greeter at Walmart, but they don't like talking to people, that's not a really great goal, right? So we want to make sure that their desires, their strengths, and their abilities, and advocating for that in the school system is really important and really huge. And then following up and making sure that the transition services they're saying they're providing, that they're actually providing those services. Because you'd be surprised how many times people can write down a service on an IEP and then not do much. So that's really important. Then thinking about housing is important. And that is a whole other nebulous and a whole other conversation we could have. Thinking about guardianship, thinking about benefits, thinking about SSI, Medicaid, the waiver, voc rehab, any community supports, thinking about the financial piece, the trust, the planning, the ABLE accounts, and then to the person-centered planning for their life. So what I like to do right now is, depending on where you are at in your transition journey, you can take a really deep breath and just think, okay, yeah, because it's a lot, and I know that it's a lot, but it's really important. The earlier you can think about it, the earlier you can plan, the better you will feel, A, but B, the better outcome you're going to get for your child, which is ultimately what you guys care about, right? And that's the goal, and making sure that they live a happy and a high quality life that they love, right? That's what we want. So as you sit here, what are 3 steps that you can take feasibly, realistically in the next 3 months? Is that looking into, if you're not on the waiting list for your state's waiver, or looking into the waiver? If your child needs to start applying for SSI, looking into that. Is it looking into an ABLE account, to opening an ABLE account? is that you can contact me and ask me for a trusted attorney to start developing a special needs trust, right? Is it having the conversation with your partner, with your kids about guardianship, right? Having these harder conversations. You can call us and we can work to develop that person-centered plan. Is it calling the school teacher and saying, hey, let's review the IEP. I want to ask questions about the transition IEP and the goals that are here. And really understanding kind of the next steps you can take. So I'm going to give you about 2 minutes. You can think about it, write in your phone, think about it in your brain. What are 3 concrete steps, kind of based on some of the things we've talked about tonight, that you think and feel like you'll be able to do by April or May? So I'm going to give you guys just a couple minutes before questions. Okay, so now I'd love to take any questions that you have. So if you have a question, please feel free to ask it. It could be about anything related to transition.
We
I'll be happy to
have some
answer.
questions in the chat box. So
Yeah, I was trying to open the chat and I can't open. That's what I was trying to do this whole time. So Amanda, if you want to read out some of those questions, that would be great.
Sure. Oh, I'll just read this question and then Marco, you can go. So we have a question from Dion. She says, I have a special needs trust in place for my son. Should I also open an ABLE account?
Yes. I say absolutely open an ABLE account. It's another tool in your toolbox. It's something else that you can have, because the benefit of having that ABLE account is that when you're thinking about the bank account, and always making sure you always checking to say, hey, do we have under the funds, you're never going to have to worry about that. And your child can actually save their money, which they're not able to do at any other banking. They're not able to ever save, right? You have to have under X amount. And so for them having their own bank account and having kind of that ability and autonomy to be able to save, we find is really huge. And again, it's just another tool in your toolbox. They can absolutely have a bank account at the local bank, but I would definitely say an ABLE account. Yes, definitely do it. They're getting so much better now.
All right. And then Marco, did you have a question?
Yes, a question, the number 5 and numbers. Hold on, let me see what I put on. And number 5 and I put on the chat.
Yeah, you said number 4 and number 5. So benefit. Yeah, can you go back to that, Kenzie? Great. Number 4 was benefits and financial.
Yes, one is guardianship. I'm sorry, and the other one is financial special needs trust, financial planning, and ABLE account.
Okay. What's your question about guardianship?
The guardianship, I spoke to a lawyer.
Okay.
This guy he asked me for how much would it cost me, the kind of price that he gave me to charge to do the guardianship. I said, what are you out of your freaking mind?
Well, he was going to charge you to do guardianship papers?
Yeah, the guardianship, yeah.
Because you can do guardianship by yourself. You don't need an attorney to do that.
Oh, okay. Then I'll look into that. All right. The financial special needs trust, financial
Yes.
planning. Let me ask you, I have a good insurance for myself in case something happened to me. My son will be taken care. Uh, how how can I break that down in a way that he can not lose his benefits once he gets insurance? I mean, my life insurance.
Make a special needs trust, and the life insurance will fund the trust. So that way, like that's what so many families do. If you've got great life insurance, amazing, call an attorney, develop that special needs trust so the life insurance will fund the trust. Because if the life insurance money just goes directly to your son, he will lose his benefits. So we
Oh,
want to make sure we're protecting the benefits. So you'll create the special needs trust with a trusted attorney so the life insurance money will funnel into the trust.
okay. So it doesn't matter the amount. It would not affect them at all. Correct?
If it's in the trust, no, because the trust is safeguarded, and Social Security can't deem any of that money eligible to
Okay.
put him at
Oh,
risk for his benefits.
all right. So that I have to see an attorney for that. I think the attorneys cover most of the stuff that, the guardianship and that one also, and a lot of more stuff. But I just want to double check on that, which I like the idea. Thank you for the information. It's very, very. I couldn't ask for any better time. I spoke to the attorney today. Now I'm
Great.
hearing what you guys, some of the stuff that I need to hear, so I had more knowledge and understanding what's going on.
Yeah, that's
You know.
awesome. I mean, definitely getting that special needs trust is going to be really huge.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
we're going to have I believe it's March 5th. So we'll be sending out another email. We're actually going to have a workshop from a financial planner who specializes in working with families who have children with disabilities. So she'll be able to give you information on how to find someone to set up a trust and kind of all the ins and outs of that as well.
Yeah, and
Okay.
there's an organization nationally for attorneys, and I can send the information to Amanda. If you're like, hey, I don't know if this attorney is legit, there's an organization that's put together every attorney that is trusted to develop a special needs trust for every state. So I can get
Okay.
that to Amanda too.
Especially need
The,
trust. Yes, that's the word that
Mhm.
I please. If you can do that, it'll be great. Amanda, you can email it to me or
yes,
whatever.
yep, I will
I'll
send
be
it all
looking
out.
forward to. I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, of
So
course.
we have another.
Because
Oh,
let me.
go
I
ahead.
have a hold on. Not finished. Hold on. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
go ahead. No, that's okay.
He also has a suit that's coming up, and it's a lot. It's a lot. His lawyer is working on this thing. I mean, he's got a lawyer that's working on this now. This lawyer that I spoke to, he's the one who does all this kind of stuff. Uh, they um, I guess it's gonna go under the financial special need trust fund, which is probably gonna go there.
So
I'm assuming that's probably gonna go.
so what, I'm sorry, what was your question?
Is it a
The question is,
lawsuit?
yes, a lawsuit, yeah.
Okay.
So he has a lawsuit and has money coming from the lawsuit,
We're
and
gonna have money coming. I mean, quite a few.
Okay.
I mean,
okay,
So that money would need to go in a special needs trust.
especially
Absolutely.
special need trust, right? Okay.
Absolutely. Any
I,
money over like $1,000, special needs trust.
special need trust. I like that word. Thank you. Thank you. That's so much.
Yeah, of
You gave me a
course.
lot of information today. Thank you so much, though.
Great. I'm really glad. Thank you, Marco. It was
Amanda,
nice
I have
to
a
speak with you.
question.
yes,
Can
go ahead, Sherry.
for the special needs trust attorney, how much is it? I looked into a special needs trust. I started the process, but I kind of stopped in the middle because it was so expensive. So
Yep.
what is it expensive? I mean,
Yes. I'm
oh,
not going to lie to you. I'm not going to, like, I like to be really transparent. It is expensive. It depends on the attorney, and it depends on where you live. So
okay.
cost of living is also going to dictate how much the attorneys charge. But
Mhm.
pretty much every attorney that we work with, that we like want to work with, it's typically always at least over $3,000. So
Oh my
some
God.
attorneys charge up to 8,000, some attorneys 5,000, but
Are there any programs that could help with like funding
there
something
are
like that?
some. So we work with an amazing special needs trust attorney, and he will work with people for free.
Oh, there.
Mm.
Okay.
That's what I was going to say. Could we try to find a trust attorney who's willing to work with us with just Keen? Is that something we could try to do? Like, is this a huge amount of work for them to do for each trust?
I
Or is
mean,
this
it
something?
takes time. But if you, what I think could happen is finding a couple of attorneys who are A, credible. That's the first and most important part. B, that are flexible and offer sliding scales, scholarships, free. So I think that that could be important. Someone else just entered.
Do people do it as just doing charity work sometimes? Will they
Some
just do it pro
attorneys
bono?
do. Some attorneys, especially if they are retired or if they're at the end of their career or if they're just really care about people making sure they can access this, some people will absolutely do it pro bono.
I actually have a conference with some very reputable trust attorneys on Monday for other reasons. I was going to maybe ask them if they would do it. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, that's what you could absolutely ask that.
It's not a crazy ask. That's what I'm saying. Is it a I mean, yeah. Okay.
I mean, it depends on who they are and what
Okay.
what is important to them.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So we have another question. Can I transfer money from a special needs trust to an ABLE account?
You can, yeah, you can put money in an ABLE account, but per year, the IRS will only let you put in $15,000 per year, like as a gift money. So that's the total amount that you can put into an ABLE account, and the maximum amount of money in an ABLE account can only ever be $100,000. The special needs trust, meanwhile, infinite amounts of money can go in there.
If for any reason you wanted to put more than 15,000, do you just pay taxes on the amount above it, or is it just forbidden?
I've never seen anyone do that because I think you would have to pay taxes on it. And I'm not yeah, I think you definitely would, because the IRS is like, this is the cap, 15,000.
Yeah. The other thing to note is that there is a small fee on the ABLE accounts. I looked into it for myself. So they charge, I think it's about $3 a month actually, to have the ABLE account open.
Yeah, and I think I mean, I guess because in North Carolina, it just depends on your state. So in New York,
Here
it's
in
a
New
small
York,
fee.
there is a fee. Yeah.
So it will depend on where you live on if there was a fee or not. Colleen, I saw your hand.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just confused with financial stuff. That's why I have my mom on here so she can listen to. The ABLE account, I could open that now for my son for free.
Yeah, so you can open the account here in New York. You know, you do put some money into it. There's like a monthly charge of like $3, and they'll take it from whatever money is like in the ABLE account. So if you put $1,000 in, or you know, however much, they're gonna take about $3 a month out for the fee.
All right, like stupid question. I have Chase Bank, so I would go to Chase Bank and open it there, or is it something that's like only online?
It's online. Yeah, so you would go online, and if you just Google like ABLE account, it will bring you to the site, and you can.
She's doing that as soon as we're off of this because she's a financial.
Okay.
I take my bills, I take it to her, and she does all the financial stuff for me.
Yeah, so you can open it. You could open one tonight. Put money in it from your current account, from your current bank account into it, and then it'll just be there. So.
Okay.
They do tell you to have documentation. You don't have to submit anything now, but they tell you to keep, you know, any letter or documentation of disability in case someone did, you know, audit or, you know, want to confirm. But they don't ask you to like scan anything or anything like that. It's pretty easy to open.
And well, he has a lawsuit too coming also when he broke his wrist at school, but it keeps on getting postponed. If I don't have a special needs trust open for him, when they have a court case, will the judge be able, I guess, to figure out where to put that money? I guess some sort of trust or something. They keep on pushing the court case, so God knows when he's actually gonna see it.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that.
We were at the court date this month, and I'm sure it's going to get postponed again. I'm just curious now. I didn't know about this.
Yeah, I mean, you could work with your legal team to see if the funds could be directed towards you, and then at the appropriate time when the special needs trust is developed, put it in there. It just doesn't need to be in your child's name. That's the biggest thing.
Okay.
Or even if you know, you are on an account together, if his name is on the account and there's over like $1,800, then that's where things can be jeopardized.
So his name shouldn't be in any account.
If it is, the amount right now, Social Security deems it's a right around 19
he doesn't have
to 2,
SSI.
19
They kept on denying him, but now he's 18, maybe he can get it.
Yes, you can apply right now.
Okay.
And you probably will get denied, and if you get denied, just appeal it and keep going.
Okay.
So Kenzie, I have two questions just as we're starting to wrap up here. One is, you mentioned that you work with, young adults with all levels of ability, and they're kind of at the center of the conversations and the planning. So just wanted to make sure, do you work with individuals who have higher needs, who may be, nonverbal, not able to make their own decisions? Do you kind of work with the family, the team? I guess what kind of services does your organization provide for these families?
Yeah, so we work with families of all ages. Our oldest client has been 40, our youngest has been 7, of all abilities and of all needs. So no matter where you're at, we will work with you. We will work with you and support you. And we do work really collaboratively, really closely with the family, with the adult and the individual, as well as we make sure that everyone who is a part of the individual's team and knows the individual, whether it's a teacher, it's a sports specialist, it's a therapist, right? If it's a speech therapist, if it's an ABA therapist, if it's a physical therapist, you name it, psychiatrist, psychologist, we'll talk with them and we'll work with them. Because at the end of the day, we want to ensure that every voice is heard. And in order to understand the full gamut of who the individual is, what their skills are, who they are, it helps to have every kind of person who's touching the case and the situation be able to kind of understand. And if I can hear from more individuals, it's just really helpful. And so if the individual is nonverbal, that's totally fine. If they have an AAC device, we have a lot of AAC devices in a lot of our sessions and our meetings. And we want to make sure that as much as the individual is able to communicate their needs and wants and desires, that we're going to be able to honor that. But then also, if they're not able to communicate a specific want or desire or need or yes or no, we're going to work with the parents, obviously, as like knowing you're the experts on your kid in a large way, as well as all those other people involved in the situation. So yeah, we work with individuals. We have adults who are working at software companies that we work with, and then we have adults who are medically fragile and will always live with family and with pretty much 24/7 care and support. So
Okay,
yeah, we work
awesome.
full range.
Great. And then we did have a question about, how to get connected with ABLE and, if there are fees associated and all of that.
I'll go to the next slide. You can call me. You can, this is my direct strategy call. So you can schedule with me. It's a 45-minute call. And we will see who you are, who your child is. And it's a really in-depth 45-minute call. There is a questionnaire you'll be asked to fill out if you do schedule, because we want to make sure that it is as effective and efficient as possible, because it's only 45 minutes. We do have fees associated. Transition, unfortunately, at this time, we are not deemed eligible for any Medicaid. We cannot be paid through Medicaid or for Medicaid because transition is just so new and no one's wanting to pay it. Medicaid doesn't want to pay us. So right now we offer private pay payment plans, and then we do have scholarships because we have had incredible families who loved our work so much that they'll give us funds to be able to ensure that other people get to work with us as well.
Can I start with the social needs security that the parents are 18 are applying for security? So
I'm sorry,
we're having trouble hearing you. Is that Dion?
Yeah, it's me. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You were like cutting out.
Okay.
Try again.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. So I just wanted to share my experience with the Special Needs Trust and Social Security with the parents who are kids are turning 18. 8 years ago, I got remarried, and before I got remarried, I wanted to sit down with a lawyer to do to figure out a special needs trust for AJ to secure my finances for him aside from my husband. And at the time, I wasn't eligible for Social Security for him. So I sat down with a lawyer, and she explained everything to me, what was just explained now. So I kind of had a grasp of what was happening or what's going to happen. Now I opened up a special needs trust 8 years ago, and I started funding the special needs trust very healthy. Like every month I would put a lot of money in it. Now forward to when my son 2 years ago, immediately they denied my son's security.
We are not able, you're cutting in and out a lot right now.
Oh, live upstate.
Can anyone else hear right now? No.
You guys can hear me? Oh, I'm sorry.
Now I
now
can.
we hear you. Yeah,
Oh,
you
okay.
cutting
Can you
in
hear
and
me
out.
now?
Now I can. Yeah, right now.
Okay. So no, I'm just saying that I had a special needs trust for him that I opened 8 years ago when he was 13 years old. No, actually when he was 12 years old. And when he turned 18, Social Security denied him, and they kept denying, and I keep appealing and they keep denying him because they said that I had this special needs trust in place and I had a lot of money in it. The guy at Social Security informed me that I should have waited until after 18 to open a special needs trust for him after I applied for Social Security. So I don't know how that is, but what he told me.
Well, that is
A year.
illegal.
Huh?
That is illegal. You can open a special needs trust at any point in any time. And if I can be personally candid, Social Security will often tell you things that are not true. And a lot of people, because it's in a special needs trust, if the trust was developed correctly and in the way that it's supposed to be, it should not affect SSI whatsoever.
Yeah, it was
So,
developed correctly, but I had to have my lawyer get involved, and they were going back and forth for a year. They ended up giving me back the money retro from when I filed, but it was a lot of back and
Yeah.
forth because of the amount of money I had in the special.
I'm so sorry that you had that experience, because that is the opposite of why you should. I'm sorry.
I think we lost you again, Dion. We
Okay.
heard most of it, but you're cutting out again.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
Um,
No, I'm just saying that they give me a hard time because I have the special needs trust in place and because I have a lot of money in it, so they give me a hard time.
Yeah, so Kenzie was saying that it's not legal and that Social Security can a lot of times gives inaccurate information.
Okay.
So that shouldn't be a problem. That a special needs trust is actually like what you should have and be able to put all of the funds into. Is that right, Kenzie?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
I think
Sorry.
Nelly had. Oh, I think
I
Nelly
know
has a question. And
Oh.
Yeah, actually, it's not about transition, but it's still kind of about transition. If the child is on SSI, I mean the point, if the child is on SSI and parents become elderly and parents start to get Social Security, do you want to tell that his SSI will change or what's changed? I missed this point. You told about it.
Yeah, it will become Social Security Disability Insurance, SSDI, and actually it's more money per month than SSI. The individual will make more money, and the amount that you can keep in a bank account actually
yeah, but
increases.
when it will be when the child when parents become
when the parent retires, when the parent retires.
And what is the age for the child? Is it important age of the child?
No.
So even if he is like 23 or 24 when retired, he still will.
Yes, he will still get it when you retire.
Benefits.
Okay, and one more question: if the child is on SSI, do we have to? And he's like 20, I don't know, from 18 years old, he started to get SSI. Do we have to do filing for him, like tax return? I know he had zero income. I don't think the Social Security, SSI, I mean, not Social Security, SSI considered as the income, but still, do we have to do some kind of filing or not?
It depends on your state. So I would contact a trusted financial advisor, and someone is coming, Amanda just said. So I would, when the financial advisor comes on March the 5th, is that what you said, Amanda? That's something that I would talk more in detail to them about. Because right now you said he's not making any, there's no income.
No, SSI, when the child is getting SSI, he's 18 years old, he's getting SSI. Is it considered something that he have to file tax return or not? This is what.
Yeah, well, we'll have to. I'll write that down for when we have the financial advisor who's going to be coming in March. They'll be able to tell you if you need to file something.
Why I'm asking, like for example, my mom, elderly person. She is getting SSI. She is doing one form for the state or for the city. Even if she doesn't have federal tax return, she is doing one form. I believe she's getting like $63 a year or something like this, NYC 210. Even if she has nothing except SSI. So my question is, for the child on disability, if we have to file his.
Yeah, I think we're not sure because it depends. It's different state by state. I actually don't know. Since I work, I do regular taxes, so I'm not sure if in New York, if it's considered an income. I know SSI is supposed to be considered non-taxable income, but I'm not sure if you need to file something. So when the financial advisor comes in March, that's something that we can ask them.
Yeah, it will be good.
And they'll have an answer. Yeah. Thank you. And then I know Sherry, you're going to be our last question of the evening.
I just wanted to the website that you have on the screen, is that the website that we log into? That's not a phone number, because it says strategy call, but it's a website. I don't see a phone number.
Yep. You
That's
open it up,
right?
You schedule
Okay.
with me. You'll literally scroll down, you'll find a time, click the time. And as soon as you click, you can find the time. And then when the time comes up, there'll be a questionnaire. And so you'll put in the questionnaire, and then it'll schedule automatically. And then it'll notify me, and then I'll notify you. And then we'll chat at that time that you scheduled. Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kenzie, for your time, for sharing all of this information with us. I will follow up with all of you guys and everyone who wasn't able to be on with the link to schedule a call with Kenzie. And also just the information that Kenzie is going to send to me. I know Marco had the question about the financial special needs trust, and Kenzie said she'll send some info. So we'll definitely do a follow-up to this. And then, like I said, we will have a financial planner coming in March, which kind of works well with the discussions we had today as well. So hopefully you guys will be able to find Kenzie's resources helpful. And we really appreciate you taking the time to spend with us tonight, Kenzie.
Yeah, of course. It was really nice being with you all. Nice to meet you. Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good night.
Kenzie.
Of course.